Some people believe that he was actually trying to force Jesus' hand. He knew that Jesus was a pacifist and knew that Jesus was peaceful and nonviolent, and that he had to be put into a corner before he would actually strike out against Rome with his great power. Some people believe that Judas was simply trying to put Jesus in a place where he had no choice but to act messianic. When he discovered that Jesus was going to submit to crucifixion, Judas was overcome with remorse. He took the money back and he threw it at the feet of those who had given it to him and made the deal with. He says he just wished he had never done that. He made a mistake, but it was undoable. If we pick days, or as we pick days that we prefer not have, I kind of wish they could cancel Mondays, don't you? Mondays are... Sometimes I have Monday even on Tuesday. Have you ever had one of those? I hate it when that happens. And we say, thank God it's Friday. Friday's when most of us get off. Now some of you are wicked and you'll have to work on Saturday too. Friday, Good Friday. I want you to see his mother, Mary, at the foot of the cross, looking up into his face, and here is someone who did not deserve to die. You want to talk about things that are unfair? That's kind of a childish word, unfair. That sounds like it comes from the playground at school, doesn't it? But I know that it erupts from our lips, regardless of what age we are. You want to talk about unfair? Well, that was unfair. That was unjust. You could look there, and also it says that the Apostle John was there. He was probably a very young man, and he looked up there, and I was thinking, I wonder if he was thinking too, this is not right. This should not be this way. Have you ever been at the funeral home yourself? Have you ever been in the cemetery, the graveyard? Have you ever been in the hospital bedroom? Or have you ever been with a loved one or friend in ICU and you said, this is not right. This is wrong. This is not the way it should be. This is the person that I would not have expected or would ever thought would have come to this kind of situation. I've seen great saints of God, men and women with great courage and such great character and dignity, lose everything in a time of sickness, dying, and death. But do you know, the reason we celebrate Easter, and we do truly celebrate it, is because we are resurrection people. We're Easter people.
Amen.
We're people of the cross, and that means that sometimes we're going to get nailed to something that doesn't belong to us. We're going to be crucified for something that we don't deserve. Now, there are plenty of things that I do deserve. No one would ever have to manufacture things about me in order to paint me as a person who deserves punishment, or maybe wrath or anger from someone, or perhaps even the wrath or anger of God. You know what I think, though, is the greatest lesson of this story is with the kinds of things that I've been talking about in the last few minutes are really just the kind of tragedies, the kinds of difficulties that face every human being. Automobile accidents, diseases, catastrophes, disasters, hurricanes and tornadoes, earthquakes and floods. Those are the kind of things that seem to be just a part of the world and the planet that we live on. But you see, the greatest tragedy is that, and I've experienced this myself, is on that Friday, for those who were living through this passage that I just read, it's not just a bad Friday for them because of their political goals. Or it's not just a bad Friday to them because of their economic views or even their religious views. They thought that Jesus had misled them. They thought Jesus had lied to them. Even worse than that, perhaps, they thought Jesus was mistaken and he was a fool. And they had come to the point of so identifying Jesus with God at that point that there's no doubt in my mind that some of them, if not all of them, to some level or extent, completely lost their faith in God. How could God in heaven above, even if Jesus is a fool, even if Jesus was misled or maybe he was missing the mark himself, even if he was ignorant or just simply delusioned himself, surely there's a God up in heaven who would have prevented this and protected us and would have protected him, that would have made things. Surely even if there was a God in heaven, he would have prevented something like this from happening, even if Jesus was a fool. I heard a message several years ago by Tony Campolo, and it's unusual that it actually was a message that he was delivering about a message that he had heard. You see where preachers get their sermons, don't you? Sometimes. You heard a minister preach, the title of the sermon was, "It's Friday, but Sunday's coming." I heard that. I wondered if you walked up Calvary's Mountain and you went up there and maybe you had been able to travel back into time and you could go up there to where Mary was and she was grieving and weeping for her son as he died a terrible death on the cross. And you could come up to her and say, "Mary, I know this is the most terrible thing that's ever happened in your life, and it may be impossible for you to understand this today, but God sent me here, Mary, to tell you this. This is a Good Friday. And what God is doing is He's removing the veil of the temple. He's separating. He's putting away everything that separates the people of God from God Himself. Mary, this may be the most tragic thing, this greatest sadness that you will ever experience. But I want to tell you something that maybe you haven't grasped yet. That it may be Friday, but Sunday's coming. You see, the great hope that we as Christians have is that this is God's pattern through the ages. There may be many bad Fridays, and you and I, in our life, if we live at any length at all, will face things that fill our hearts with sadness and grief to the point that we think that we can't even function. We couldn't even breathe another breath, that our heart is so broken. It may look like it has no point. It may seem to be cruelty from the very hand of God. And at the very least, God is just up in heaven, sitting upon His throne, looking down and watching without helping, without offering assistance, without even offering to change it or to deliver the people who are going through the tragedy and all the tears and all the blood. God was doing something through Jesus that was to give hope to people who would be able to believe it on Sundays. You might even be going through a Friday right now. Let me tell you this. It may be Friday now. But if you will believe in God, and if you'll trust God, if you'll continue in spite of the darkness, in spite of everything that belies doing that, if you will continue to trust God, I believe with every Friday He brings Easter Sunday morning, where death is defeated and disaster and calamity. And it may not happen in this life. It may not happen while we're alive. It may be after we get to that place where we live after this life again. The things that help me make it through the darkness right now, as I say to myself, it may be dark now, but it will be light again one day. I may be hurting now, but one day I'll be healed. I may be lonely now, but one day I will be in a throng of millions. It may seem as if believing in God is a hopeless, nonsensical choice right now. But I believe that if we will continue to believe in Him. Listen, folks, I've looked at all the different possibilities for belief that exist in the world today, and I can't see the prospects of a better hope than believing in what Jesus promises. He had told them that He was going to die, and He'd also told them that on the third day He'd rise. The pattern for us is that God yes, is going to bring Fridays into our life. He's going to permit and allow Fridays, not just one bad day, not just one bad incident. There are going to be tragedies in our life that we'll never in this world, in this life, understand. We'll never be able to make sense out of them. You know, that's what I used to do as a pastor when I began ministering as pastor, and I was young and pastoring in young churches. I would go to the houses of people who had lost a loved one, and I tried my very best to help them make sense and to explain what God was doing and what the reason and the purpose God had for allowing their loved one to die, and to make it all seem reasonable and sensible, and for them to be able to say, oh, now I see why this great tragedy happened. It's because God is going to use it for good. But you know, I realize that sometimes in our lives, if God himself were to appear to us and explain just exactly why he was doing something, it wouldn't be enough to take away the hurt and the heartache from our lives. But we have to trust him. Because it may be, and you may be going through a Friday now, but let me tell you something. I promise on the authority of the Word of God, Sunday's coming. Sunday's coming. One morning you and I may wake up and go to that place where we go every day to visit that dark place, that emptiness, that hurt. We go to the shrine of that broken heart, the place that we've baptized many, many times with tears. We may rise some morning, I believe that we will, and go to that place that we have dedicated to the remembrance of the thing that hurt us so badly, or that beleaguered every step of our life. The Bible promises that one day we'll go to that place, and it will be gone. Forever gone. Just as Jesus was gone. That's the story of the cross and the resurrection. Friends, are you going through a Friday right now? Are you going through is something in your life seem to be heavier than you can bear? God promises that it does have a purpose. There is a reason. But also that Sunday's coming. What does that mean? He's saying hope. There's room for hope. Things are going to change. Things are going to be different. And for those of us who commit our faith and our trust in him, he promises that things are going to be better. Amen. Let me pray this morning. Father, if there is someone here this morning that they've heard your gospel story, but they have resisted committing their entire lives to it because it just doesn't seem to make sense. The math doesn't add up. I pray that you would touch their heart in a way that only you can, in a way that music and messages and prayers cannot. And you would ask them to trust you with the guarantee of Sunday morning. That Jesus is the proof. Jesus is the guarantee. He's the guarantor that there is a Sunday for each and every one of us who will put our trust and our faith in him. There will come a time in our life when all the tears will be wiped from our eyes, all the sadness from our hearts and minds. Our hearts will be mended. We will be given an eternity where there will be no more sad goodbyes, no heartaches, no tear-filled eyes, a time and a place and an eternity of Sundays every day where you will undo and vanquish all that from this life made its mark upon us. Lord, if there is someone here this morning that they are your child, and because of that very fact, they know that they belong to you, they've given their faith in you, and yet still you were hung on a cross, or still there are things that decay and collapse, still things that seem to be out of place and out of whack and out of shape. I pray, Father, that you would convince them to hold on, to hang on, to trust in you and let you hold on to them for the Sunday that has been promised to them. Lord, we pray it in your name. Amen. Ronnie, what's your